We thank you for coming in this morning to talk about the school property tax extension, and we have Lauren Rowe, Rick Collins, and Christine Moore speaking with us today. And I guess we'll start with Ms. Rowe. Can you tell our viewers why you were involved in championing this extension of this special property tax?
Well, first of all, we have two girls in public school at Hillcrest Elementary. They're in the Spanish magnet there, and they've been there since kindergarten. So one's in third grade, and one just started kindergarten. And when I heard about the referendum on the ballot, when I heard about the extension and that it had to be extended, meaning we had to vote again for it to continue. And then I saw the numbers behind it and realized just how important this money is to the programs at the school, especially the programs that my children enjoy. Being at a Spanish magnet, you know, that in itself is a specialty that takes extra effort. It takes extra qualified teachers who can teach bilingual classes. It also is a school that really cares about the cultural side of life. I mean, when Leah started school at Hillcrest, there was no music class. Well, by the time Livia is back in school, Livia's in school, there's music class now, and she loves it. It's one of her favorite classes at school. They're both very involved in athletics, and they have a running club, they have a soccer club, and this is elementary school, and these are things that are very important to my kids, and I think to the parents there. You know, the parents at Hillcrest are extremely involved, and they, you know, we have a Facebook page and we correspond, and one of the things that's really important to all of the parents, at least at our school, is that the kids have enrichment programs. It's not just about the testing, it's not just about, you know, the reading and the writing and the math. It is about all of those other things that I think make a kid well-rounded. We had all of those things when we were in school. I had art, I had music. My music teacher was my favorite teacher, Mrs. Summers. I remember her to this day. So I would find it amazing to not have the same things for my own children. Why would they not? Why would they not get the same things? And then when I saw the numbers and saw just how important this is, I think a lot of people don't realize that, you know, they get confused. And I also talked to a lot of my friends, and I said, you know, you have this item on the ballot at the very end of your ballot, and you need to make sure you take a look at it and do your homework, and if you have any questions, just let me know. And they said, well, didn't we just pass a tax for schools? I said, yes, we did. We passed a sales tax. The voters passed that overwhelmingly, really. It was, from what I understand, it was a pretty good percentage. So that was for the schools, that's for the buildings, it's for the technology, it's for the infrastructure, it's for renovations and building. This mill is for the programs inside the schools. And I think that a lot of people just don't understand the difference and why they're apples and oranges, but they're essentially important, both of them, for those people who care about the schools. So I wanted to make sure that I got the word out to my friends and to other parents. I'm here as a volunteer. I'm here as a volunteer just like I volunteer at my daughter's school all the time. My husband is also volunteering to get the word out. I don't know if you saw his debut in the Orange County Public School video.
He looked very excited that you had drafted him to help you, Lauren.
It took a little coaching, but I think in the end he was a lot more confident. He's ready to take on a reality show or something. He said, so yeah, like I said, if you look at the numbers, I was concerned after seeing the numbers that OCPS provided to me, just how underfunded our public schools are. I mean, without the mill that was in place this year, our children would have gotten $1,600 less than what they would have gotten in the 2007-2008 school year if it's adjusted for inflation. Is that correct?
That's correct.
That's correct.
So that to me is really unacceptable. So I wanted the kids, I mean, I am very happy with my children's school. I think their teachers are amazing. I think they do a great job. I think they've taken on this Common Core curriculum positively, and they're having to really adjust, and they're doing a great job. My kids are. We just had parent-teacher conference, and I thought that they were handling it very well, explaining it to us, letting the parents know what the kids need for all of these things that are essential in class, essential in school. I think that OCPS is really on a roll. I have no complaints whatsoever about the education my children are getting. So why go backward now? Why not continue to support them with a mill that we're already paying? Nobody's going to, see extra money on their bill. It's something that we're already investing in, and I think it's an investment that's worth it in our child's school. I would hate to see us go backward when we're doing so well. So that's really the bottom line for me.
Well, we opened with Lauren because we figured viewers would be familiar with her. But Mr. Collins and Ms. Moore, could you briefly introduce yourselves and tell us why you're here as well?
Well, I'm school board member Christine Moore, and from the Apopka, Ocoee Winter Garden area, and I'm a music teacher, and so the arts are very, very near and dear to my heart. And I've also really taken an interest in the 6 years that I've been on the school board in finding efficiencies and reducing the operating costs so we could keep money in the classrooms. And so this past year, we really, as Laura has said, we've just experienced as a district so many great accolades. To see that the district was recognized as the top urban school district in the country, that the governor recognized our operations division for the Sterling Award, because it really has been so important to us to reduce the operational costs to keep the money in the classroom. So we really wanted to keep going ahead. It's just so important to not go backwards, and with all of the new standards and the technology, it's imperative that our emphasis, our attention can be on moving ahead and not trying to go backwards and reduce things that are so essential to our children's education. So it's a pleasure to be here and work with Mr. Collins and Lauren as we move ahead with the school district and continue to improve and increase opportunities for our kids.
Mr. Collins?
Okay. I'm Rick Collins. I'm the Chief Financial Officer of the school district, and I'm also a citizen of Orange County. I grew up here in Orange County, graduated from Oak Ridge High School, and also from UCF. So I'm a local product, and I'm here to represent the school board.
For those unfamiliar with the specifics of this tax, what specifically would the money be used for if approved by taxpayers this year?
The money would be used for exactly the same purposes as the existing special millage would be used for. It's used to continue programs, retain highly qualified teachers. It's used to continue our arts programs, athletic programs, and student activities programs. So it's basically used for the same exact purpose that it has been used over the last 3 years. This is the last year of the special millage for the 14-15 fiscal year, and so it would be used exactly the same way it has been used in the past to continue those programs and to continue our momentum of success that the district has realized over the last few years.
Do you have a number on how many teachers are working or are in the classroom today as a result of voters approving this in 2010?
The current numbers is 710 is what we've estimated, using an average salary of around $60,000. That's the portion of this that is going towards the retention of our highly qualified teachers, and then there are other amounts that are dedicated towards the arts programs and the athletics programs and student activities areas.
And arts programs, how many schools have arts programs today as a result of that previous?
Would you like to address that?
No, I would
Yeah.
love to address that, because when I first came to office, we had the Orange County Arts and Education Center, and they kept coming to us with these grim statistics about we had 5 schools that didn't have any art and music teachers at all. And so we've seen over a 10% increase actually because of this money. And so we have an art or a music teacher at every school in Orange County Public Schools now. And we've also seen an increase in student participation in the arts. And when you look at activities such as all county, all state events, Orange County really posts incredibly high marks in that area, and we think that's very important with the commitment this community's made to the Dr. Phillips Center for the Performing Arts. The fact that we have all of the tourism, Disney, Universal here. There's been some numbers done by United Arts that there are more citizens employed in the arts in Orange County than any county in the country. So it's vitally important to our economy as well to make sure that we have high quality arts programs.
When you refer to every school, how many schools are there in the district?
Over 200.
Well, per pupil funding from the state fell 15% between 2007 and 2011, while costs, of course, continued to rise. Yet now the state economy is rebounding, and Governor Scott has said if he was reelected, he plans to recommend an increase in per pupil funding to the highest level in the state's history. And Charlie Crist, too, says he's backing increased funding for education. So I think that begs the question, if more money for schools is likely in the pipeline, why is this tax even needed?
Let me take that one.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think it's important to know that this pot of money has no strings attached from Tallahassee. And we firmly believe that because we're able to direct it where it really has been needed, that's why we're seeing these great increases on the AP exams. Our scores are better in terms of the number of students taking AP and passing than any other district in the state of Florida. And so there is a value to having a pot of money that has the control is up to our superintendent and this board. And certainly if the governor, either one of them actually is able to successfully get us an increase, Mr. Collins can explain to you more. There are some potential areas that we could pull back, but again, we haven't seen increases from Tallahassee that have exceeded CPI, and we're still with this large gap between with current funding and where it would have to get to in order to come up to what the funding we would have needed with CPI. So we would have flexibility.
Sorry to jump in. When you say, just for the sake of our viewers, when you say CPI, you're talking about the consumer price index. You're talking about inflation.
Yes.
Correct. Okay.
And so, Mr. Collins, would you like to add to that?
Sure. If you look at the trend line of regular funding, excluding the special millage, we are starting to recover. Of course, we went through the tremendous Great Recession with everyone else, and so our per student funding dropped dramatically, and so we lost ground in purchasing power to the cost of inflation. We're starting to recover slowly now, but keep in mind that even this year, our property tax base went up about 7.9%. It expanded that fast in Orange County, which was tremendous. But even with that 7.9% expansion in the tax base, our per student funding in regular funding only went up 2.2%. It's because the tax money is used by the state and distributed equally throughout the state. And so not all of the state recovered as rapidly as Orange County did, so it was equalized throughout the state. This special millage is used 100% in Orange County, though. It's not equalized at all anywhere else. It's used 100% in Orange County for Orange County students.
I think if you don't mind me adding how I feel about it from a parent's perspective, a lot of the parents out there, they go to school, they barely get their kids to school on time. I mean, I'm one that has a hard time in the carpool line. We barely get our kids to school on time. We do our best to pay attention to the newspaper. We do our best to stay up to date on what is going on. But what I see here, as far as the money is concerned, and see the latest stories about OCPS, the Broad Prize, one of 2 schools in the entire country to win this prize for urban education. Now, if you take a look at the numbers and you look at how much of a challenge it's been to be exemplary nationally under the financial circumstances that OCPS has gone through, and then you see the fact that they've been able to do it, and then you look at the fact that this $10.20 a month for a homeowner who has $150,000 value on their home. So the average homeowner, a little over $10 a month. That money goes directly to the school district to do with it as they see fit. I don't have to trust what's going on in Tallahassee. I don't have to trust statewide politicians. I don't even have to trust Washington, even though we have taken money from Washington as well, and that's why we have the core curriculum standards that we have. But I don't have to trust any of those people. All I have to do is trust the people locally who are educating our children and who we actually have direct contact with. I can come to a school board meeting. I can give input to my principal about what programs are important to me as a parent. I can't march up to Tallahassee and tell them where I think the education money should go. I mean, I guess I could, but who really feels they have that kind of personal input? So for me, I like the fact that this money comes directly from our pockets, but it goes directly into our budgets. And we do have a say in those budgets. We do have a direct contact with the people sitting right next to me. So that's what has really been, like I said it before, for me it's really kind of a no-brainer as far as this funding is concerned.
But you spoke about trust, and that's one of the criticisms of this particular tax, that critics say the specifics regarding how the money is allocated and how it is spent are relatively thin. And we're wondering why that is. Can voters really be sure that the specifics that you are talking about and the consequences that you talk about are really legitimate?
Well, when you're talking about specifics, we provide a particular report showing how much money was spent in each category each year. That was the reporting requirement that was contained within the ballot language. So we provide a report every year to the public. We provide that information to our parents. We post it on our website. So we provide an accountability to our constituents as far as how the money is spent each year.
And how is the money spent? You were talking about how the money statewide is equalized. Is it the same with this? Do all schools get an equal share of the money?
The money is used throughout the district for all of the arts programs, all of the athletic programs. It helps to support all of those. It helps to support instructional staff throughout the district. We don't get into disclosure of saying, okay, this teacher is funded out of this source of money or that teacher is funded out of that source. They're just teachers at the school, and the money is used to support teachers. Part of the reason why we don't particularly name the teachers in the report is because we don't want a particular teacher to feel that their job is dependent on, their specific job is dependent on the money. If the money was not there, the board would have decisions to make. It wouldn't be necessarily cutting that teacher or that particular job. So that's why we don't normally come out and list teacher names, but it is the equivalent of 710 instructional units throughout the district in that category. When it comes to the arts areas, it's used to support the arts programs at every school, and again, like athletics, it's used for the athletic trainers, for instance, are paid out of the athletic money. So that's one of a specific example of how the money is specifically used.
You talked about stipends for the coaches, insurance for the athletes, and if you look at some of our neighboring counties, and you've seen the types of reductions they've had to make, and the number of school board meetings dedicated to, are we going to reduce busing? And I have friends in neighboring county who their boosters, their athletic boosters, are actually having to raise their coaches' stipends and travel fees. That's not happening in Orange County. We're so grateful for that, and we feel like because we haven't had to, wrestle with those types of decisions as a board, that our energy has been on improving the academics, and we've engaged in a lot of professional development. We're moving ahead more rapidly than other districts with our digital programs with computers, training teachers to professional development. In the next week or so, we'll be talking about expanding our digital pilot schools, which is incredibly exciting. And you're not seeing those kinds of things happening in neighboring districts, and we're just so grateful because our attention can be on moving ahead. And with the Common Core Florida standards, actually we're calling it in Florida, tests this spring, I really truly believe that you'll see that we will fare better than a lot of other districts with all the changes, because our attention has been able to be on moving ahead academically.
So on an annual basis, the tax has been pulling in how much money?
It's currently pulling in about $92 million. The current year is estimated to be around 96. No, excuse me, I get that wrong. Next year it's estimated to be 95 million. So Currently, it's around $92 million for this year, and it's forecast to be around 95 for next year.
And so the way it's allocated is a little more complicated than 92 million divided by a factor of 200 schools then.
Yes, oh yes, it's used for the specific programs that are specified in the ballot language. So whatever amount is needed to support a particular art program in a school, the money goes towards that school to support that program. If it's needed to support athletics at another school, it supports that athletic program. So it's not necessarily divided exactly dollar for dollar at every school, but it supports the programs that are currently operating at every school.
Mr. Collins, but it is true, isn't it around $450 per student that it provides additional funding?
That is correct.
Yes.
And just on the details, when does this one sunset if voters approve it?
It sunsets at the end of the current fiscal year. So
The current one sunsets, but what if voters approve the renewal?
okay, the renewal would be for an additional 4 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, this particular tax has a 4-year limit. Once the voters approve it, it can only be approved for a 4-year period.
Uh-huh. And is that some sort of statutory limit on these kinds of taxes?
This particular tax has a 4-year limit statutorily, yes.
Mhm.
It is limited by statute.
Okay. Was there a thought back in 2010 that that this was going to be necessary to review or to renew in 2014?
I think the hope was that we would not have to, but we didn't have a crystal ball. We were hoping the economy would recover. And clearly, when you look at the budget from last legislative session, the increases that the state enjoyed were not shared proportionally back to the school districts. They made a decision not to bring us whole as quickly as the state was recovering. So I think you're seeing a lot of districts. I'm even hearing right now that Hillsborough is looking at some sort of additional tax to support their programs, and you're seeing it happen in this area. Some also has had to do this. Volusia, Brevard has a referendum on their ballot in November as well. So I think we were hopeful that the state would bring us whole, but for whatever reasons, it has not yet happened.
Right. There are currently 16 school districts in the state that currently have an additional special millage to support their operations.
One of Seminole County's selling points, both to homeowners and for drawing new businesses to Seminole County, is its strong schools, and they've used that to sell its recent tax initiatives as well. Can Orange County schools make a similar argument to taxpayers that our schools are strong? This is a good investment.
Well, I absolutely think so. I mean, between the Governor Sterling Award and the Broad Prize for being recognized as one of 2 top urban school districts in the entire country, and when you look at College Board releasing the scores that Orange County Public Schools has had the highest increase in students taking and passing AP exams, absolutely. And when you look at trying to recruit businesses, high-tech businesses, we're going to be able to boast of having the best technology in our schools. I would dare say probably one in the top in the state as we roll things out. But we're very cautious as we roll out the technology. We've been doing it with over 100 data points to be sure that as we proceed that we're using the taxpayers' money wisely and it's invested where it can make the biggest improvement in student achievement. So yes, I think as our Economic Development Commission and our mayors talk about trying to bring companies here, I think certainly that Orange County Public Schools is a partner and a proud partner in trying to improve our economy.
And Christine, you mentioned advanced placement tests. That's sort of a measure of the rigor of the curriculum in our high schools. Not only has the school district expanded the number of kids taking advanced placement tests, but they've also rapidly expanded the number of kids that are passing the advanced placement tests. So, in fact, the Washington Post Challenge Index national rankings list showed that they recognized that all 19 of our high schools were on that Challenge Index list among the top 10% in the whole country. So, Orange County has made tremendous strides academically over the last several years and creating an environment where I think it is going to help to stimulate economic activity in the area.
Is there more than a casual relationship between this tax and these achievements?
I think there's more than a casual relationship, absolutely. As we were coming out of the recession, many of the school districts had to make hard decisions. I mean, you guys have written about some school districts that have had to close certain schools. They've had to make hard decisions about athletic programs, pay-to-play type programs where if you want to play athletics, you have to pay to participate, those types of things. Orange County has not had to do that. Fortunately, we haven't been reading about us in your paper very much about financial issues, quite frankly, and that's true. And we're rated, in fact, we're the #1 rated school district in the state currently by Moody's, S&P, and Fitch, the 3 rating agencies, and because of the financial management of the school district. So there are a lot of positive things. We call it our momentum of success, and we want to continue that momentum of success. And by extending the current revenue source that we're currently utilizing, I think that would have a tremendous effect on the district.
Daryl, can I add one thing to that, though? When you look at the operation side, and I brought some data for you. For example, in year 10, we were spending 5.3% of our budget on transportation, and now in 14, we're at 4%. Well, why is it? The district went out and hired outside experts, audit experts. We were able to change our computer program, and some of the hires Dr. Jenkins have really, really focused on lowering those operational costs. And so I don't want your readers, your listeners to think it's just about more money all the time. It's also about going back and finding efficiencies, and I think you have to do both. And I think we can show you, I'll leave you some of this material to see the great lengths. Our Chief of Operations, Michael Eugene, has lectured and spoken at national conferences on using key performance indicators to continue to lower those expenses on the operations side. Mm-hmm. So we don't really want to leave you, and I know Lauren wants to jump in here, I don't want to leave you with thinking it's just always about more money.
Well, and I just wanted to answer Daryl's question for a second, because you were talking about whether it's a casual relationship between this money, this millage, and performance in the schools. You can't quantify everything when it comes to a child and their education. Let's take Oak Ridge, for example. We have an Oak Ridge graduate here. Oak Ridge is an entirely different school
It definitely is.
than when Rick went to school there. And I know that personally because my brother-in-law began the theater program last year at Oak Ridge. He's no longer there. He's moved on to a different state. But he and my sister were very involved in Oak Ridge, and I spent some time there. And they put on their first theatrical performance, their end-of-the-year performance, with kids who'd really never had a full theater program and a beautiful theater and the ability to put on a performance. And I think that when you look at that kind of excellence and that kind of experience for those kids, I mean, I don't know how much you know about Oak Ridge, but Oak Ridge High School, I don't know, it's one of those schools where it's like over 90%
free and reduced
lunch. Okay, so this is a school that most of the kids don't have a lot of resources beyond the school in which they go to school. It is an amazing campus. It is a beautiful place. There are resources there, not just volunteer, but there are resources there and programs that support these kids who don't have any support a lot of the time outside of school. You can't quantify what having that theater program or having that media program and having a television studio in the school, you cannot quantify what kind of effect that has on a child's test scores necessarily, and you can't quantify what kind of effect that child has on their ability to get a job after school, after they graduate. But I know that I don't want to not invest in those children, and this is an insurance policy to me. This is an insurance policy that the investments that we've made in the kids who really needed it, who may not even stay in school without their arts programs or their athletics and this extra feeling that they're special. You can't quantify that, but this is an insurance policy that at least some of those programs will continue to help those kids who would not have those experiences outside of the schools that we're funding for them.
Well,
I'm
can you
sorry.
picture, Lauren, if we didn't have any of that? So they were just going to school to have reading and math every day. You know, if you don't instill in a child a love of learning, and you can't motivate them to do those studies, where are you? I mean, how many children go to school because they're on the football team, or they take art, or the fact that this district still has the finances to send every first through third grader down to see the symphony, or the opera, or the ballet. Every year we are able to, with this money, to be able to fund the transportation. So, yeah, you can't quantify it, but at the same time, we are quantified. It's there. I mean, the scores are going up. Now, it's not a double-blind study or anything like that, but I think there still is.
I don't think
some
we need to
cause
fund a
effect.
double-blind study to see that kids are going to do better in school when they enjoy and feel special. I went to the symphony on the field trip a couple of weeks ago with the third grader, and you know, she was kind of into it. I was a little disappointed that she wasn't more excited about it. You know, I was explaining Vivaldi and Mozart, but the little girl next to me, oh my goodness, she could not have enjoyed it more. You know, and when I see her mom and dad, I'm gonna say, you have no idea how much Peyton enjoyed this concert and how
Yeah.
you really need to foster that in her because she was so excited about it. Again,
Yeah,
those are experience. I mean, there's only one or two a year,
yeah.
and those would probably go away without this extra funding. Getting on the bus, going, getting dressed up, and going to go see the ballet or the symphony. I mean, those are things that our community deserves, I think.
I'm going to ask you, Lauren, and I apologize in advance for maybe the personal nature of the question, but
Okay.
I'm going to presume that you may have had more options for where you could send your children to school
Sure.
than maybe other families have. Why did you choose to send your kids to public school?
Well, we were zoned for Hillcrest. We lived in downtown. My husband grew up in Panama in the Canal Zone.
Really?
Spanish is very important to us. Having children that are bilingual is very important to us. It's also one of those things that we continue. I was much more gung-ho about lobbying for the bilingual classes and lobbying for a Spanish magnet middle school. And you know, every time I see Dr. Jenkins, I'm lobbying for a school nearby me. Well, you know, that would make a great Spanish middle school. That was really important to us. Now, to be honest. Making sure that our third grader can read, making sure that she makes honor roll, making sure that she understands and gets her multiplication tables. Our third grader is a diabetic. She has to be, her blood sugar has to be tested all day long, and her school nurse, her teacher, they take extra time and effort to make sure that she feels good and that she's safe in class. And they do this on top of teaching her multiplication tables. They do this on top of enriching and making sure that she can roll her R's and pronouncing her Spanish so well that she laughs at mom when we're doing Spanish homework. Those are the things, to me, were important. I couldn't have asked for more, and they were available to me right down the street in my local public school. There were private schools that I could afford. I have many friends with kids in private schools. And I can sit at the dinner table with them, and we can talk about homework. My kids have the same homework as their kids do in their third grade classes. And we have the same programs and the same experiences. Plus we have the diversity. We have everything that we want right down the street in our local public school. So that's why we chose, I should say, my husband and I chose to send our kids to Hillcrest. And we would continue to send our kids to public school in the middle schools and high school. We were in it for the long haul. And most of the reason why we have totally made up our mind about that is because OCPS, in my opinion, has done their best to really kind of roll with the punches. And they've proven that they can be innovative. I hope they keep doing that, especially since I'm on camera saying it.
You're just going to have to come down to a couple board meetings and make sure.
Oh,
we do.
gosh. Okay. Well, like I said, I'm not here for political reasons. I'm here as a parent, a volunteer.
Well, I guess, I know what our time is, but,
I think we could conclude with our last question.
okay. Well, let's say for the sake of argument that everyone who's viewing this right now says, yes, public schools are important and you're doing great things. However, you know what? There's a sense of tax fatigue, and some people say enough is enough. What do you say to those who are asking for a break on the property tax, given the consequences of not passing it?
Well, I'd like to take that question because, first of all, we're really not asking them for anything new, so it's just continue what you're doing. But I would say to them, when your public school is one of the very best, that not only impacts your children and the future for economic development, but it also impacts the value of your home. We really firmly believe in every neighborhood school should be a high quality school. And when the neighborhood schools are high quality, it really helps to revitalize neighborhoods. If you look at what Evans High School has done in the Pine Hills community, it's nothing short of remarkable. For me in Apopka, we just opened up a brand new Phyllis Wheatley Elementary School. When we had an open house, 400 alumni came to see that building. I'm watching the neighborhood around it looking better. And in fact, then they were asked to be on a national PBS program. And so when you see the value of these new facilities and the highest quality instruction, I think it's worth more than that $10 a month for the average homeowner. And I think they'll see the benefits back in a whole host of ways.
I think everybody, oh, I'm sorry. I think everybody understands tax fatigue. There's no doubt. My husband and I just sold our home in a really great, how do I say this? I don't want to say where it is, but in the Orange County School District, and we sold it in a place where it's zoned for a very popular, very successful school. And we did very well in the house that we'd only owned for a little over 2.5 years. So that investment that we made in that house, for one of the reasons that it was zoned for this particular school, some of that money, I believe, should go back into investing in the school district in which our children go to school. Everybody has tax fatigue. Nobody wants to pay the taxes. And I think that everybody kind of has to take a look at their tolerance for it when they go to the ballot. I have no doubt that that's the case. Everybody votes their pocketbook to an extent, regardless of whether they're voting on a specific tax or whether they're voting on a candidate. But, I think that it's important that everybody has the information in front of them and it's available. And I'll continue to put more on my Facebook page. But, it's one of those things that at least get the information, at least understand the numbers and understand where we are, and then make the decision knowing full well where the money goes and where we stand financially within our public school district before you just say no to another tax or yes blindly. At least be educated on where the money goes and why at least parents like me believe that it's important.
That sounds like a good spot to conclude.
Absolutely. Well, we thank you all for coming in and discussing this issue. Thank you very much for your time.